I did it. I bought a Shaper Origin.
The technology inside this thing is incredible. Think of it like a drone using GPS satellites to lock its position in 3D space, except here it uses this domino tape to know exactly where it is on the wood. But here's the big question. Can a handheld router that relies on my hands to move it actually match the precision of my rigid gantry CNC? Let me show you more about this thing so we can get to the test cuts to see if this little robot can keep up with the big CNC. So most of you know how your standard gantry CNC works. It zeroes itself out every time it's powered on. Once it knows where zero is, it can count the steps away from that 0 point. So as it moves, the motors always know where they are in relation to this zero. The Shaper Origin is different. It uses domino tape or shaper tape to see where it is on top of a project. Think of it like this. You've all used a GPS before, either to navigate to grandma's house, find your favorite fishing spot, or fly a drone. I'll use the drone example. A drone is powered on. It acquires satellites. Once it knows where it is in relation to these satellites, its position is accurate to between 1 and 3 feet anywhere on the globe. The Shaper is similar, but instead of satellites, it scans this domino tape, and the unique workspace that it creates by this scan tells it where it is as long as it can see the tape. But now the question is, just how accurate is this? Let's find out. This test will be simple. I'm going to measure how accurate a 2-inch by 3-inch rectangle pocket is in both the X and Y axis, and how accurate the 1/4 inch depth is, and also how accurate its location is using a bottom left reference point, all using a 1/4 inch spiral bit. First, the Avid CNC. Using Vectric software, I create my workspace. I draw a 2-inch by 3-inch rectangle. I locate it 2 inches in from the left, 2 inches up from the bottom. I set up my tool path to cut the pocket a 1/4 inch deep using a 1/4 inch spiral bit. Then, the machine already homed, I zero the Avid using the corner finding touch plate on the bottom left corner of my project. And off we go. With the Shaper Origin, the goal is the same. Instead of homing the machine to find its 0 point, I scan the domino tape so it knows where it is on the project. Then, to find the bottom left corner reference point, I'm using the Shaper's grid function to locate the bottom edge and the left edge of the project. Once that's done, I can simply create a 2-inch by 3-inch rectangle right on the Shaper Origin. I can tell it I want to cut it a 1/4 inch deep. I can place the same 2-inch by 3-inch rectangle 2 inches from the bottom left of the project, and once again, off we go. Now let's do an accuracy check on the Avid CNC. The published accuracy, I believe, is somewhere around 0.005 inches. So measuring the location of the pocket from the bottom of the board, I measured 2.003 inches, and from the left-hand side, it was 2.010 inches. Now measuring the pocket from the Avid with the digital calipers, I measured the 2-inch side at 1.995 inches and the 3-inch side at 2.994 inches. And then moved on to measure the pocket from the shaper origin. Measuring the location, once again, from the bottom, I measured 2.008 inches up, and it was also 2.008 inches from the left-hand side. I was surprised that this was very consistent. This is also a good time for me to remind you, if you're enjoying this video, please hit the like button. We would also love for you to subscribe so you can catch more of the future videos. Your support means a lot to us. Now measuring the pocket from the shaper with the digital calipers, I measured the 2-inch side at 1.999 inches and the 3-inch side at 2.995 inches. This would be a good time for me to note that off camera I did measure the depth and both were spot on. Both were 0.25 inches deep. So sorry I missed it on video, but that's what they were.
Avid, it's supposed to be 3, 2994, 1995. Shaper, 2995, 1999. Man, the shaper is more accurate than my Avid? Dang.
At this point, I was kind of in disbelief. Well, let's take a quick pause for a reality check here. We're talking about woodworking tools, and we're comparing accuracy of a few thousandths of an inch. So bottom line so far, both machines, although they work in totally different ways, are insanely accurate. Because I could not quite believe this, I decided to do 2 more test cuts with each machine. So I went back to the Avid and I cut out 2 pieces this time all the way through. I did one rectangle, 1 inch by 7 inches long, and I did a 3-inch square. And obviously I did the exact same cuts on the shaper origin for comparison. One thing I did not think about is that my digital calipers do not go to 7 inches, so I kind of had to measure these the standard / old-fashioned way. But as you've seen previously, when we're talking about a few thou of an inch, we're not going to be able to see that on the 7-inch. But you can also see they're pretty much identical. So now, the moment of truth. Do my 2 new cuts change my initial discovery that my shaper origin may have technically produced a more accurate cut than my Avid CNC? Well, here we go. The Avid results for the 3-inch by 3-inch square cut were 2.997 inches by 3.001 inches, and the 1-inch by 7-inch measured 1.001 inches by, let's call it 7 inches. The shaper results for the 3-inch by 3-inch square were 2.999 inches by 2.999 inches. Unbelievable.
2.999. Perfect square. Are you kidding me? The shaper is more accurate than my CNC.
The 1-inch by 7-inch measured 1.001 inches by, well, again, let's just call it 7 inches. This one was identical to the Avid. All right, so if you really like to geek out over numbers, here's your table, here's your chart. Bottom line, the Avid and the shaper are both insanely accurate. For woodworking, they are absolutely amazing, both of them. If you really look at the numbers, the Avid technically positioned the rectangle, the first pocket inlay that we did, or not inlay, but first pocket that we did, it did a better job of positioning it where we asked it to position. But again, we're talking thousandths of an inch and only a couple thousand. It's just not even comparable. the Shaper Origin, I was shocked at this. The Shaper actually beat the Avid when it came to consistency of the shape size that we either cut out or carved into a pocket. That to me is unbelievable. All this is saying is both are amazing, but what I'm really shocked by is how accurate the Shaper Origin is. This is going to open up so many doors. I'm just going to start exploring and testing and going crazy with the Shaper Origin. I can't wait. Well, that's it. I honestly didn't expect a handheld router would be keeping up with a $10,000 gantry style CNC like my Avid. But the results speak for themselves. The setup was basically zero. The drone-like tracking was rock solid, and the cuts were dead accurate. The cuts you saw me make in this video were literally the first cuts I made with the Shaper. Its interface is super intuitive, so easy to use. It's not about choosing one or the other. It's not about choosing the CNC, the Avid. It's not about choosing the Shaper Origin. It's about using the right tool for the job. The Avid's still going to be my workhorse. It's got certain things it can do that the Shaper can't, but the Shaper is really the ultimate problem solver. I just can't wait to see what else it can unlock for me in the shop. Thanks for watching. Please like, please subscribe. Hope to see you soon.